Hi everyone, Miss Debbie here. If you missed our campfire stories, bringing you the selections from last week, these are stories all about mustaches. So put on a mustache and enjoy. Our first book is called Laxmi's Mooch by Shelly Anand. Hi, I'm Lakshmi. Come here closer. You see that? That's my mooch. What's a mooch, you ask? These little hairs above my lip. It's okay, you can look. I never really thought about my mooch until the other day when my friends and I were playing farm animals at recess. Zoe was a horse, Noah was a cow, and Zoe said, Lakshmi, you're a cat, okay? I want to be a chicken, I said. But you're the perfect cat. You have those little hairs on your lip like cat whiskers, said Zoe. I do? I asked. Meow, said Noah. Yeah, you have a little mustache like my dad. My cheeks grew as hot as a steaming bowl of Mummy's aloo gobi. I went to the bathroom after recess and looked in the mirror. Zoe was right. I did look like a cat with small black whiskers. Meow. I sat at my desk with my hand over my mouth so no one could see my mooch. Everywhere I walked, I thought I heard kids whisper, meow, meow. The whole day, I kept noticing hair all over my body, on my arms and legs and knuckles. Even in the space between my eyebrows. When I got home that afternoon, Mommy asked, how was school, Beta? Well, Zoe said I'd make a good cat, I said. Aw, you're my little Billy, she said. No, Mommy, she was calling me Harry. Huh? I thought we named you Lakshmi, said Papa, looking up from the roti he was making on the stove. No, look, I'm hairy. I have hair all over my body. I have a mustache. Han, I also have a mooch, said Mommy. But Mommy, I thought mooches were just for boys like Papa. Nahi, you know we come from a long line of women with mooche, said Mommy. We do? Like who? From Mogul empresses and stately Ranis to village girls and city girls, even your nanny and cousin Rada. Everyone has a mooch, really. But I also have hair on my arms and legs. I have hair all over. Mummy shrugged. Tokya, so what? Hair is just for your head. Mummy smiled. Nahi Beta, we have hair everywhere. But why? It protects you and keeps you warm. Just feel it, so nice and soft, she said. But look at this hair between my eyebrows. Yes, it's lovely, just like Frida Kahlo, said Papa. Who? I asked. Frida Kahlo. She was a famous artist from Mexico. Oh, I think it kind of looks like a caterpillar, I said. Caterpillars are the coolest, Beta. They build cocoons and become butterflies, said Papa. First I'm a Billy and now I'm a butterfly, I asked. That night, I dreamed about royal Bengal tigers prowling through the Sundarbans. Their long black whiskers danced in the hot breeze. and butterflies flew behind them, fluttering around their long tails. That's her dream. The next day at recess, Zoe wanted to play farm animals again. Let's play jungle animals instead. I'm a tiger with my long, silky mooch, I said. A long, silky what? Asked Zoe. Mooch, it's Hindi for mustache. Well, what should I be? Asked Zoe. I walked up to Zoe and got really close. I saw tiny blonde hairs on her lip. Sure enough, she had a mooch too. You should be a lion with your shiny blonde whiskers, I whispered. I don't have whiskers, Zoe said. Do too, I said. We both ran to the bathroom and looked in the mirror. I don't see anything, Zoe said. Move in closer, I said to her. She leaned in so close that her nose left a little smudge on the glass. Oh, she said, and then she slowly smiled. When we came out of the bathroom, Noah was waiting for us. Hey, what about me? Do I have a mooch? He said. Zoe and I both looked, but we didn't see a single hair above his lip. Nope, said Zoe. Yeah, I don't see anything, Noah, but maybe we can draw one on for you until your real one comes in, I said. Okay, agreed Noah. A small group of other kids in the class crowded around as I carefully drew a mooch on Noah's lip. Me next, said Savi. Me too, please. After Savi, asked Timmy. They lined up behind Noah for my world-class mooches. I don't need one. I already have some hair there. Lucha smiled proudly. So do I, cheered Aratsu. Pretty soon, everyone was showing off their mooches, real and drawn. So, will you show me yours? Now it's time to look in the mirror and see if you have a mooch. Maybe you do and maybe you don't. It's just a fact of life. So, here's another book about mustaches. Mabel, a Mermaid Fable by Rowboat Watkins. What was weird about Mabel wasn't her mustache. Her dad had a mustache. Her mom had a mustache. Her big sisters had matching mustaches. Even her baby brother had a tiny baby mustache. What was weird about Mabel was that she had no mustache at all. I'm nude. Mabel tried hiding her nose behind jaunty shells by wearing seaweed mustaches. But this only made her feel like a clown. And the puffer fish called her Nudie Branch. Nudie Branch. Mabel had no idea what a nudie branch was, but if she was one, the only thing to do was hide. So she frittered away, who knows how long, hiding in holes along the ocean floor. Until Mabel realized she was not alone. Who are you? She asked. big eye in the dark. I'm Lucky, said the giant eye. Who are you? I'm Mabel. Why are you here? Mabel asked. Because I only have 7 legs. That sure sounds like a lot of legs. I'm supposed to have 8, said Lucky. What can you do with 8 legs that you can't do with 7? Mabel asked. Count to 8, said Lucky. I can teach you to count to 8, said Mabel. So Lucky is an octopus. And octopi have 8 legs, but not Lucky. Lucky had 7. Mabel actually helped Lucky count all the way up to 88. And Lucky sort of taught Mabel how to juggle. Great. Then they pretended to be king and queen of the corals. Beautiful underground world. And the pufferfish said, nudie branches. And look at poor Lucky started to squirt black ink. And that's what octopi do when they're frightened. And here's all the ink coming out. Sorry, said Lucky. I leak when I'm scared. That's okay, said Mabel. What's a nudie branch? Nudie branches are sea slugs, said Lucky. Oh, said Mabel. So that's why they're awful? They aren't awful, silly, said Lucky. Nudie branches are amazing. And all those little nudie branches said, I'm amazing, I'm amazing. Suddenly, Mabel realized everything she ever really needed. Oh, look at all those little nudie branch friends. Was already right under her nose. She didn't need a mustache under her nose. She had a friend. The end. And Lucky said, I wonder what comes after 88. And Mabel said, let's find out. Isn't that a sweet story? Come and borrow this from the library. These pictures and other books by Rowboat Watkins are just adorable. So, I have another mustache book. This one's called The Big Bushy Mustache by Gary Soto. I love this particular book. Little boy. People always said Ricky looked just like his mother. He has beautiful eyes exactly like yours, Rosa, said Mrs. Sanchez, the crossing guard, as his mother took him to school one morning. Thanks, Ricky's mother shouted, and turned a big smile on him. Have a good day, mijo, and then she gave him a kiss. Ricky went into school frowning. He was a boy. Why didn't people say he looked like his father? That morning, his teacher, Mrs. Cortez, brought out a large box from the closet and set it on her desk. She took out a hat and a serape. She took out a sword and raised it toward the ceiling. Class, for our next unit, we're going to do a play about Cinco de Mayo. That's a holiday that celebrates the Mexican victory over the French army. Mrs. Cortez looked around the room. Her eyes settled on Ricky. Ricky, do you want to carry the sword? Ricky shook his head no. Do you want to wear this white shirt? She asked. Again, Ricky shook his head no. And he shook his head to the sombrero, the captain's hat, the toy pistol and holster, the purple cape, the Mexican flag. But when Mrs. Cortez took out a big bushy mustache, Something clicked. This time Ricky nodded yes. For the rest of the day, the class practiced their parts. Some of the children played Mexican soldiers, and some of the children played French soldiers. All the while, Ricky played with his mustache. It tickled his lip. It made him feel tough. When school was over, Mrs. Cortez told the class to leave the costumes in their desks. Ricky took off his mustache, but instead of leaving it behind, he put it in his pocket. He wanted to take it home. He wanted to surprise his father when he got home from work. Maybe Mommy will take a picture of us, he thought. We could stand next to each other in front of our new car. After Ricky left school, he pressed the mustache back onto his lip. He felt grown up. A man on the street corner called out, "Hello, soldier." Ricky passed a woman carrying groceries. She said, "What a handsome young man." He passed a kindergartner who said, "Mister, would you help me tie my shoes?" He looked so grown up. Ricky laughed and ran home. He climbed the wooden steps, pushed open the door, and rushed into the kitchen, where his mother was peeling apples. "Hello, hola, Mommy," he said. "I'm hungry." He looked up and waited for her to say something about his big bushy mustache. But she only smiled and handed him a slice of apple. "Mijo, wash your hands and help me with the apples," she said. Ricky's smile disappeared. Didn't she notice? "Look, Mommy, isn't my bigote great?" he said, tugging at her apron. His mother looked at him. "Bigote? What are you talking about?" "This one," he said. He touched his lip, but the mustache was gone. He felt around his face. It was not on his cheek. It was not on his chin. He looked down on the floor, but it wasn't there either. "I must have lost it on the way home," Ricky thought. Without saying anything, he ran out the front door. He retraced his steps, eyes wide open. He dug through a pile of raked leaves. He parted the tall grass that grew along a fence. He looked in the street, between parked cars and in flower beds. He jumped with hope when he saw a black thing, but when he bent over to pick it up, he discovered that it was a squashed crayon. Ricky sat on the curb and cried. The mustache was gone. When he got home, Ricky told his mother what had happened. She wiped her hands on a dish towel and hugged him. At dinner, he wanted to tell Poppy too, but the words would not come out. They were stuck in his throat. He watched his father's big bushy mustache move up and down when he chewed. Under his breath, Ricky whispered, "Mustache," but his father didn't hear. He talked about his work. After dinner, Ricky went to his bedroom. With a black crayon, he colored a sheet of paper and then cut it into the shape of a mustache. He taped it to his mouth and stood before the mirror. But it didn't look real. He tore it off, crumpled it, and tossed it on the floor. In the closet, Ricky found a can of black shoe polish. He looked in the mirror and smeared a line above his lip, but it was too flat, not thick and bushy at all. Finally, he dug out a pair of old shoes. The strings were black. He cut them in short strips and bound them together with a rubber band. He held the creation above his lip. It looked like a black mop and smelled like old socks. That night, after he put on his pajamas, Ricky went into the living room where his father was listening to the radio. Papi, I lost my mustache, mi bigote. His father laughed. What mustache? Ricky climbed into his father's lap and told him everything. His father smiled and told him a story about a hen that tried to become a swan. It was a good story, but it still didn't solve his problem. Tomorrow he would have to face Mrs. Cortez. The next morning, Ricky got out of bed. He dressed slowly, he combed his hair slowly. At breakfast, he chewed his cereal slowly. He raised his eyes slowly when his father came into the kitchen. Buenos dias, he greeted Ricky. Then Ricky's mother came into the kitchen. Mijo, I have a surprise for you, she said. Mommy held out a closed fist and let it open like a flower. Sitting in her palm was a mustache. It was big and bushy. You found it, Ricky shouted happily. Well, yes and no, Mommy said as she poured herself a cup of coffee. Ricky pressed the new mustache to his lip. He ate his cereal and the mustache moved up and down just like his father's. But something was different about his father's smile. His lip looked funny. Ricky jumped up and threw his arms around Papi's neck. Gracias, Papi, thank you, he cried. That's okay, Papi told him. But next time, listen to your teacher. Then Papi touched his son's hair softly. And hey now, I look just like you. Ricky grinned a mile wide. When Ricky walked to school, he carried the mustache not on his lip, but safely in his pocket. It wasn't just a bushy disguise anymore, but a gift from his Papi. Isn't that the sweetest story? Does your Papi have a mustache? My Papi didn't have a mustache. The end. All right. That's it. I'm going to do another unit with mustache stories, but these 3 stories will do us for now. See you next time.